No worries, man. It's so cool to reconnect. I appreciate you responding to my, text to be here because it's been a while and always had some really great conversations.
Yeah,
So I thought, why not record it and make it a podcast, use it for some content?
why not? I'm ready to
Exactly.
go. I'm always ready to talk about real estate.
Right
My
on,
favorite
man.
topic. As I tell people ask me, can I, am I okay to do a podcast? I say, dude, you can wake me up at 2 in the morning and talk about real estate, and I'll be good to go. I love it.
Literally happened to me last week. I was on a call with a client in Europe and I was up to like 4 in the morning or some ridiculous time.
Hmm.
And it was all just working on stuff, but the technical stuff. But yeah, man. So you've been crushing it with the probate stuff. I got a whole series of questions, but I kind of want to just kind of see where you've been because the last time we got together was like in Culver City. You were managing a company. We've talked on the phone a few times after that, but like I think we went to lunch at your old office where you were managing a bunch of agents and even before that we were connected through Tony Robbins because of our connection with him.
Yeah.
So just kept can you catch me up?
Yeah. So I had, I first had met you. I think I was a manager at Century 21, and then you saw me in another office later. But I went through management, and I realized after about 5, 6 years, I was doing well. I was making good money, but I kind of realized because I didn't want to work for the man. I wanted to build my own business, and the owner. Who on the outside looked great, the more I got involved, the more success I had. I think it really kind of created some jealousy for him and his wife, and
Oh my
it
gosh, I
got
can
very
imagine.
ugly. And she was just, which I didn't realize she was even part of the business. But at the very end, he said, "Oh, don't you know she's my partner?" And I said, "No, I run your company for you. I run 10 branches of a business for you." No, I had no idea. She was just
Wow.
a witch, and I had known her before he did. But anyhow, I went back to production, about 7 years ago in March of '99. No, March of 2009, 2019, 7 years ago,
Yeah,
and started in the probate niche at that time. Then started a podcast right after that,
I remember.
and it's been great. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done well financially. I make good commissions. I built a business, a couple of different streams of income from that, and like what I'm doing. And 67, I'm still able to participate. I got a bunch of listings coming on at the end of the month. Yeah, so doing really good.
That's amazing, man. You know what they say, 100's the new 60, according to Peter Diamandis. So you got we got a long way to go, is my point.
Yeah, I need to spend more time doing some of the stuff he's doing because 67, 67. I hate to say it, for me at least. I don't know.
That's
I don't know.
awesome.
But yeah, business wise, I think part of what the whole thing with COVID is everybody's open to e-signing now. Everybody's open to video at some level, and so trying to find the right balance. I don't do much in person because I have a pretty big family. I'm very involved with my family and my community, so I don't need that personal interaction. And I do know that the people who do that are also benefiting because there's a real starving need for that human live touch too. I just don't have the time for that. I'm pretty busy with my family and other stuff, and I'm making enough money in my business not to have to travel or go to events and stuff. Though the truth is, I've also said to myself, I need to get out at least a bit. And I haven't seen anybody regarding business. I've seen like maybe one person a year the last 4 years for lunch or something. And I went to one business meeting about 2 months ago, and I said, I need to go to like, a good conference where there's good information and meet people, good networking, people doing a lot more than me. So I go to the XPCon event annually. I need to go to like one or two more of those kind of things. But anyhow, no, business has been great. Having a lot of fun.
Great to hear it, my friend. It's so good. And I saw Glenn a couple months ago as well, speaking of events, because he had like a couple of our mutual connections. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been friends with Glenn since like, I think around 2009 when I first got into the business.
Mm-hmm.
We went to lunch together at one of these car conferences and we read a lot of the same books and we were just really aligned. So we always maintained connection through
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, it was like Social Commerce Summit or something that one of these a couple of these influencer connections I have were running, and he was there. We got caught up a little bit, but they're great, and I have to force myself to go as well because of how much time I spend in front of the computer all day. It's like, there's different conflicting priorities, and it's like, where should I allocate my time? And
Right.
they're worth it. It's still fun. I got a lot out of going, and it was great to
Mm-hmm.
get some of those insights there. But yeah, I did some homework on your company and what you've been doing, and it sounds like you got a bunch of different lanes because I've seen the background on your LinkedIn has like the EXP lane, but then you've got the Probate Expert website, and then you mentioned a few other things as well just a second ago. Like, do you want to like this is really all about you. So like whatever whatever you want to talk about, I'm all ears.
Well, I think, at the core, I think I have a number of different things, but there's the bullseye that overlaps everything is really how do I want to improve the industry of people who inherit property. When I started and I looked into it, I was looking for an intersection of three things. One was, what am I good at? What do I like to do? And where's our need in the market, in that intersection? And so initially probate appealed to me because I kind of enjoyed getting dressed up in a suit and tie and going to court. And I realized by doing that every day, there wasn't much competition, and yet I learned a lot, and it was a target-rich environment. It's kind of like being a single guy and being invited to a sorority house every night. Of course I would go. Who wouldn't do that? There's attorneys there who refer business. There's families who are inheriting property. There's investors there. When COVID happened, I wasn't sure what to do with my time, and I think I just started the podcast more as a way to help other people and reach out. I felt very lucky to have a family, and I had money, and I was surrounded with people who were just really struggling, and I really was looking for an opportunity. How can I be of service to people who are struggling? So the podcast originally was helping originators who were trying to build a business to do the same thing I had done, and do it with them as a colleague as well. I wasn't selling any coaching. I wasn't selling any services or anything. But it led to this podcast that grew this business. And so from that, there were a couple outreaches. I get business and list property. I have launched 2 online products just because they're kind of fun to do and make a little bit of money, but it's not really the core. It's more, these are products I would, in my EXP downline, I would give to somebody in my downline. And I thought, I wish I could spend more money and time, printing it up and making it more implementable. And I said, well, if I sell it, then I'll just give it to them. I can sell it to other people and use that money to cover that. So I've done that. One of my clients hired me, or I should say contract with me, to run their property management firm as a broker. So I'm a broker of record for a commercial property company, a management company. It doesn't violate my EXP because it's property management only, and we don't do any sales, and I don't do any of this license work otherwise.
So they're separate lanes.
Separate
So
lanes. I have a
that's really
broker's
cool.
license and a corporation. It's all separated and in compliance with the XP, which is great. They've been great partners for me, and just fantastic. I could not have built the business I built. And then I have, EXP has a downline process, and I've been able to really, without working at that, I have 40 people in my downline, and that's been nice and generate some nice regular income. And then referrals around the country, and that's been nice. So I have about 4 or 5 different things kind of working, but the center of all of it is to try to raise the standards of knowledge and experience and service in the probate space for families and for attorneys.
Fantastic, man. There's been so much that I kind of dove into on your YouTube channel, and you pointed out that, and this could have been from an old video. I don't remember which one, but it basically says, I mean, it was a great. It was just a great observation I made, which is basically what you said in your video, which is agents spend about $1,200 a month on data, mailers, cold calling just to see like a dismal 0.5 conversion rate. And so why do so many agents struggle to build a sustainable business, even when they're investing heavily in marketing and stuff like that?
Well, I think that they spend money on, first, prematurely. They spend money before they put the time in. Right? In any business, you can only invest 2 things, money and or time. But you should invest money when you don't have more time, and when your time is being productive and you want to leverage the time you have. You shouldn't invest money because your time isn't generating revenue, because then you're going to spend money on things that aren't going to generate revenue. It's just, to me, just simple math. Exactly. And I think so many of us are misled by our brokers. The broker direction's horrific. And I think often for mixed reasons. They have their incentives and reasons why. And even the main coaching, I always felt like the Mike Ferry coaching was great for a year or 2, but if at the end of 2 years you're still cold calling strangers 4 hours a day, something's wrong with your business. By definition, no other business does that. And so I think that to answer your question, realtors are often not educated, right? People don't go to college typically to become a real estate agent. I went to college and graduate school, but that said, most don't. I think that they're gullible, they're hungry, they're desperate in some cases. So they spend money on things. But I always tell people, exhaust all the free stuff before you start spending money. Like people would ask me, hey, what do you think about this coaching program? Let's say All the Leads or Probate Mastery. I'd say, well, just watch all their free stuff first. Like, why would you pay a penny until you've exhausted? I mean, when you run out of free stuff, then maybe you have to start buying more books or more audio. Like same with you with the other coaches, Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone, and I've paid to go to their coaching, but I exhaust all the free stuff first, because why would you not? If you really think they're going to help change your life, why would you not take all the free stuff they give you?
I love that.
So I started with real estate agents, and when people ask me, well, how do I build a business in real estate? And the fundamentals haven't changed. I always say to them, you have to start with people you know already, because all your marketing is going to do is take strangers and make them people you know who haven't bought yet or listed yet. And they have to stay in touch with them until they're ready to buy or sell. But you can't convert strangers to transactions consistently over time. It just doesn't work that way. And nobody wants to do that. They're all, well, my friend's this, my cousin that, my gardener this, I don't want to, but they all buy houses or sell houses. And if you're not serious, then you're not serious. And so I always try to tell people ways to get business that first just take some time that they're wasting now and convert, and then reinvest some money into your business.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant suggestions there, because that reminded me of one of the videos I saw that Tony mentioned. Is like the business is like an ever hungry machine, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like you can always invest a ton of money into the business, at whatever level you're at. And I thought, wow, that's, and so what you're saying is like totally in line with that, which is awesome. And
once you have some conversion going, then you can invest money to create a flywheel. Like once you know how to generate leads, and convert them into money, well, then you can pay a telemarketer to do the same thing you're doing, or pay 2 or 3 who combined are as good as you, but still make less money per hour, and you can double your business that way. But you really can't pay somebody if you're not good at it. It just doesn't work.
100% agreed. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So you talked about like 90% of agents who start in the probate niche fail to build reoccurring revenue.
Yes.
Because of the broken models. And it's kind of like what you were mentioning a second ago, which is like endless expense of what I mentioned, mailers and cold calling and stuff like that. So at what point does the problem stop being a lack of effort and become an issue of relying on, fundamentally flawed, B2C models?
I think they're both happening. I think that the models are flawed. The models that most people are taught are flawed. They're taught for the benefit of the broker or the benefit of the team leader, right? People, it's true that teams do a lot of business. Now, how much they actually profit, there's some that don't profit at all. They do a lot of volume, and they talk about how great their team is, and they attract a bunch of people. But at the end of the day, they're already spending 34% per deal to Zillow to get the leads. Right off the bat, your margins are in trouble. And so I don't think they're ever transparent. Like one of the things I always tell people who are new into business, I have people call me and I say, well, I can't really help you because you need to be in a big office with a bunch of people with a staff meeting and be able to walk in on the top producers and listen to them and watch them in the hallway, watch them in the conference room. And most people would just hire them under their downline because they get paid if they close anything. Well, that's kind of like child abuse. So I think the models are created by brokers and team leaders to benefit them, not the agent. And I just think also the agents are gullible. They want to be told you don't have to work hard, you can make a lot of money. They want to believe that. Well, I don't think that's ever been true. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I've met a lot of people who've made a lot of money. Anybody who I ever met who made a lot of money over time, not just like in one cycle. I'm not talking about the guys who mastered foreclosures for like 2 years and then were broke 4 years later. Anybody else I ever met who ever made money over a 10, 20-year period, they all enjoyed the hard work. Like it may not seem like hard work to them because that's just how they operate. I'm like one of those people. My hobby is AI and coding and playing with automation. I only do my hobby, before 9 or after 5. I don't do it during phone calling hours or talking to customer hours. I love it, but I understand that's not going to necessarily generate me revenue today, so I can't do that today. And I think sometimes it's just agents And I think our culture, we've gotten so soft. I'm from the old school. My father was a old kind of Vince Lombardi style baseball coach, and John Wooden school. And there's a right way to do everything, and you learn the right way, and you don't argue with the coach. You find somebody who knows more than you, and you just shut up and do what they tell you to do. Right. Today, the young people, they all know everything. They're all on YouTube. They're all experts, and they're all going to tell me how they know more than I do. And I think that's part of it. Is the character is just everybody's looking for an easy solution. They're simple. They're just not easy.
100%. It's like arrogance and confidence without competence.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I tell my teenage daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can't tell them that. They want to hear it. Right?
I joke around with her like that. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow because you can, and that's what, Tony gave me as a 20-year-old when I went to my first event with him. It was like, yeah, I could dominate the world, but like, what's the work that's going to take me to dominate the work, right? It's exactly what you said. You nailed it. Like, these top producers that are constantly working and you included, it's like, it's like one and the same. Like the work becomes the joy, right? And I love that reminder.
Yeah, I think, we chase happiness. It's the pursuit of happiness that's guaranteed in the Constitution, not the actual happiness. I think that means, I try to think like, what would a fantasy job for me be? Like playing, I don't know, it'd be Tom Brady would be like a fantasy, but he only played 17 games a year, and they lost typically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, so they didn't win them all. And he had to practice, for months before the season started, and during the week, 3 or 4 or 5 days a week they had to practice and then travel every week, be away from his family. There was a lot of stuff that sucked. There's a lot of laps, a lot of weights, a lot of nutrition, a lot of, sitting in meetings and reviewing stuff. He only played football 17 times in a year each year. And so I think for us in business, like, it's very thrilling to close a deal still today. When I get the wire transfer to my business account or signing a listing contract, still thrilling. I would say to my wife, when I get a new listing, I say, honey, who's the best listing agent you know in the world? From the movie, The Right Stuff. I love that line. Who's the best? And she'll go, oh, well, this guy's good. No, but who's the best? She'll go, you are, honey. I love that. I love getting the contract. But you only get, I only get 1 or 2 contracts or 3 maybe a month. I don't get them every day.
But it's still great. I mean, that's a great cadence even then,
Yeah, love it. Couldn't be happier.
Average anyway. Most of the average is like one a year, I think, and it's probably gone down since that statistic has been published.
That statistic is flawed. When I was recruiting, I would pull the data for brokerages, and half the agents in any brokerage over 10 people did 0 deals in the prior 12 months. But a lot of them are people like they're an accountant and he wants MLS access, or he's an investor, or they're an appraiser. So I think that statistic gets a bit overworked because there are people who they should quit, but they pay the MLS fee because they just don't really care. It's not that big a deal. They don't want to have to rejoin later. And so some of that's a little, I think there's a lot of dumping on real estate agents that's not fair. I think I'll give you an interesting statistic. We're more regulated than attorneys in California. So for example, our continuing ed requirement is more hours per year than attorneys. Wow. You think of all the power attorneys have, all the rights they have, all the privileges they have. They get real estate licenses without having to sit for the test. And here we have more continuing ed for real estate than they do. Now they had more education requirements to get, I get it, the bar exam. Yeah. But the continuing ed, their attorneys are 30, 40 years in practice, and we've done more continuing ed than they have in those years. And another one is, if you notice, compliance requires us to have our license on everything, on our websites, on my YouTube channel, on my business cards. Attorneys don't have that requirement.
That's true. Wow.
So I do think we get a real short, part of it's our organization doesn't do an effective job of standing up for us. I think for us, we also don't appreciate how good we have it and don't talk about it. But I would say I'm proud to be a member of the Association of Realtors. The forms we have are fantastic. They're better than the commercial forms that are done by third parties. Our state forms are better than any state I've seen other states have. And I think we have to stand up and be proud of that. So again, I would just defending realtors. We get bagged on a lot, and there are a lot of realtors who deserve to be bagged on. But
yeah, no, you've done a great job of representing them. I'm surprised they haven't asked you to speak at the car conventions or at least the local.
They have actually.
Oh, really?
A couple times I had a conflict that couldn't go. I'm religious. I'm Jewish, so some of the times it conflicts with the holiday, and so I found a replacement for me in San Diego, I think last year. Usually those are more commercial, like they're going there, they're also going to have a booth and they're going to, pay some money. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting that my local MLS or local association reached out to everybody, said, hey, if you've never been active, you'd like to get active, why don't you run for a spot on the board? And I thought, I'm a pretty smart guy. Like, I know the business. I have a pretty good reputation. I'll apply. So I applied. And this lady calls me and says, well, have you ever been on a committee before? I said, no. She said, well, then you're not qualified to run for the board. I said, well, you sent me the email. I just replied,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to go to committee and go to a bunch of committee meetings. I'm just not, I'm not desperate. I'm not looking for a job here. I was offering to be a service. So
That's awesome, but whatever, their loss.
whatever.
So you mentioned AI and like that,
Mm,
like it seems like, I mean, based on what I know about you and our backgrounds together with, with the Kanai philosophy, the constant ever and improvement philosophy, that's been a backbone of my business and my personality and everything I do. And I have a feeling that you are the same because of how like we've always gotten along and stuff. And
mm,
when you mentioned AI, it's like a big old like can of worms opened up in my mind because there's like a million questions I could ask you about that. But
mm.
I'm just super curious, like, what are you willing to share about how you've been implementing it in your business?
I mean, I'm pretty transparent. I think that before I was in real estate, I was in technology. I worked for an electronics manufacturer, and they also paid for whatever classes we wanted. So the
Wow.
PC just came out when I graduated college in 1980, and I actually moved to Florida, where IBM. People don't remember, but IBM really created the personal computer in Boca Raton, Florida. They had 10,000 people who moved in there in a couple-year period. It was like a gold rush, and then their top executives were in the same airplane and died in a crash. So I had people
Oh,
know about IBM, but I was in that world, and so from the beginning, I got into real estate. I always wanted to use, computers or technology as my tool or one of my main tools. And so I feel the same way about AI today. It's very powerful. It requires time and learning, like anything else, discernment. It's easy to pay somebody to do stuff for you. It's much harder to spend the time to learn to do something for yourself, but you can do it for yourself over and over again. So, I think it really affects all my business. I'm really refocusing. I've never really had a website and I didn't really do SEO because to me that always felt like pretend that you're a really pretty girl, put up some fake photos and show some cleavage and people will hire you versus the AI is really going into depth on your expertise, your knowledge, testimonials, people know you.
mhm.
And so that really fits my marketing plan better. So I just redid my whole, all my marketing, and some of it's in process, and some of it's my website's all going to be redone, and it's all come in process right now. So I would say that on a global scale, being AI, getting ready for this change that's happening in our industry, but I
Mhm.
use it every day on things like, processing listings and multiple contracts and the podcast. I mean, I've really automated now when I send out emails to people to sign up for my podcast. They click, goes to my calendar. It runs a pre-note. So when I talk to them, I've already pulled all the information I want in a certain way. Everything's formatted, and then when I'm done, we download it, and then that just generates everything for the final upload. So whereas there are people who struggle to do video. I'm doing 3 podcasts a week, and I have a backlog of videos, so I can take off a month's vacation, and the videos still continue to go out. Without my being there. So I think the definition of a business rather than a job is it would run if you're not there. And so the beauty of AI is now the things will happen when you're not there. I can't do everything. I can't really list property. I can, refer it, have a team member step in. But the podcasting, I really have that completely automated now. So that's been fantastic.
That's amazing. Is there a
Mm.
particular tool about that you're using, or is it set up within your systems that you've established?
My advice on that, the answer is yes, of course, I have particular tools. The thing I would tell people is, like for me, I run my business on Google products. I use Google Mail, Google Calendar, Google Docs, spreadsheets. It was always, I think, more for the power user from the beginning versus Outlook was much more for the corporate and enterprise user. And so I've kind of grown into Google. And so as a result, I've gone with Gemini, which is, not the front of the frontier models. It might be in 4th or 5th place, but it's so amazingly powerful that because I pay for the workspace products, you get a certain amount of AI, and then I pay to upgrade from there to more. It's just ridiculously powerful. And then I use for coding stuff Grok, just because, I'm trying to think, where's the business going to be 5 years from now? And while, there's a lot of good companies, I think, Google has so much resources. They're going to be around. And I see Tesla / SpaceX AI as well. So I use those two tools I use the Grok for the coding stuff, and I use the Google products. But Google's just really upgraded so much that, being able to analyze my own data, my own podcasts. And the other reason I use Google for AI is because my primary marketing channel has been YouTube, and only Gemini really can read the YouTube files effectively. So I would say Google Gemini and Grok AI. But I think it's not so much that they're better. It's that everybody, like our company at EXP, everybody gets a CRM, Bold Trail or Loft. There's like 3 choices. Yeah. Nobody uses more than 10% of the CRM. The same is true with AI. Like, better to use 40% of what you're using than 10% of the best model and then changing 6 months later. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to build deeper with the tools I think I'm going to have over the next 5 years.
That's a brilliant strategy. It's it reminded me of one of the statistics that one of my mentors shared with me is like, and I'm paraphrasing again, but it's like he said, Google is the king of the internet because it has a larger context window that most of the internet, or most of these models don't have. Right. So because of that, my go-to has always been Google products as well. Gemini, and since the get-go, since I learned that insight, I've been just doubling down on that. But I'm multimodal as well, so I'm not religious about just one model necessarily. Kind of like you, where you've got Grok going on the coding side. I've got a variety of other suite of tools that I'm using as well in parallel with my day-to-day operations. But yeah, my primary is definitely Google products as well. So that's awesome, man.
But the Google and Grok are both moving so quickly. I'll give you an example. I've used Zapier since it was around. I don't know how long, 10 years or so, 15 years.
Yep. About that time.
And I tried to set up some automations with them that I couldn't do with Google. But then I went to Grok one day and said, this isn't working. The Zapier, I kept trying. And Grok was better at teaching me how to set the permissions in Google than Google was, and better at the automation than Zapier was. And so I just closed my Zapier account because I don't really need it. And it was all done within the Google AppScript is amazing if you're doing spreadsheets and stuff. So for me, it's really about using the tools you have deeply more than any particular tool, I think. But
agreed. Yeah, so true. I mean, there's so many other questions I have about like their agent stuff, but I'm just I'm just more curious on these other. So the build, you just mentioned a technology that you're using inside of Google. What was it that you said?
Well, within Google Sheets, which is the spreadsheet product, there's AppScript, which is like a place where you put basically HTML code, and it runs within the Google Sheet rather than say a Cloud Code or rather than some other coding environment. It's a code within the spreadsheet, and so much of my data is in spreadsheets that's a great place to do it. And so, but what's funny is I don't use Gemini to help me write the AppScript in my Google Sheet. I use Grok to write the AppScript. They just do a better job. It's just, now again, I'm paying for an upgraded version of it. Yeah. But the coding is just superior for I'm paying, I think, $40 a month for Grok, and I pay a lot more for Google products in a sense. But so again, those two are both, big companies, and I think they're playing for the long haul. And but I use the Gemini, and there's been a lot of stuff on YouTube recently about the Gemini Google Sheets AppScript, and now they have it in the Docs as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Google AI Studio is also pretty awesome, and how much you can do in it, and yeah, we can. There's a lot more we could talk about it.
Google Notebook.
Google Notebook.
I use it's when you talk about privacy. Now, I just saw some issues about company policies regarding AI and what you can and can't put online. So I need to kind of, I would just say, I'm in the process of investigating, making sure I'm in compliance. I thought I was with the paid products at Google. What was convenient, and the Notebook is you're not sharing that data with anybody publicly. It's like in your own folder, and then you can use the Gemini gems to read the data and process it. So I was using it to help me create input sheets for MLS. So my assistant, that's all automated, and for reviewing contracts, preparing listing agreements, just a lot of stuff. the notebook is really a very easy way to analyze a lot of information on the same topic.
I love it. Yeah, no, I've been using it since it launched, and it's been extremely valuable. I built it out for other companies as well that I've
Mm,
done in consulting and stuff. But very cool, man. It's so cool
mm,
catching up with you. I love hearing about your growth and your
yes.
success, and always appreciate our time that we've spent together. But are there any other? I mean, I'd love to. I do have one other question in regards to the probate training that you offer
Mm,
for your agents. Is there
mm.
a like, do you have that on school or a different platform like that
So,
where people can learn about it, or whatever website you'd like to share with the audience is also feel
you
free to
know,
share.
right now, my approach is I have few enough people that I just tell my colleagues who just book a coaching call with me anytime about once a week. They have a link and they come in my calendar and we
Okay.
review what they're working on. I share with them some of the proprietary things I do as far as data and some of the procedures I use. And then, a lot of it's just reviewing, their progress on, um, reaching out with my focus is attorney referrals and fiduciary referrals. And so there's certain activities that generate that, and then launching a podcast is part of that and how to do that. And I work with them on offering to interview their attorneys on my podcast, which is the easier sell because I have a bigger
Very
platform.
cool. Yeah.
And so it's at this point I would say it's more individualized one-on-one coaching. There's a series of things related to probate advances that I created like a bundle, and
Nice.
so I just took that and kind of made it more professional, and I sell it now publicly online. Get Probate Cash is the name of the product, and people can sign up and buy it. And it's the same thing for people who might download. I just give them the link for free. So, and it recorded. I used. Do you know who Russell Brunson is?
Of course. Yeah, I met him in Idaho
Oh
a couple
wow.
of years back. Yeah.
So he had a launch recently, a product called I think Marketing Secrets. So I took that program to kind of learn about it, and then use that as an excuse to kind of put together this product. And so I paid for the product. I have enough sales where I paid that back, plus some. So yeah, I just put it in that format and sold that. And my
That's awesome.
plan is to really focus more on building my downline starting next year. So this is all preparation for that. Again, the website and the AI search kind of ready. The product, there's 2 or 3 products that are really just more training modules for my staff member, but I'm going to sell them as products separately, so that there's perceived value as well as I think they're just more professionally provided.
Absolutely. That's so cool that you get to offer that to your downline once they
Mm,
join your team. And
mm,
so where would you like the audience to go besides the product page? Is there a
mm.
like way they can reach out to you directly? What's
Yeah,
that?
at Bill Gross Probate. If you search that, you should find me. I mean,
Bill
I'm
Gross Probate?
at Bill Gross Probate on social media.
Ah,
So I'm on YouTube at Bill Gross Probate. My YouTube channel is probably the best place where I have the most value, I think, posted. And my website's billgrossprobate.com. But yeah, and if you just search, I think Bill Gross Probate, I kind of pop up almost anywhere.
beautiful, man. So cool catching up with you. Let's,
Thanks.
well, I mean, I'm sure we'll stay in touch. Besides the EXP event, are you going to anything else coming up?
Nothing scheduled. I have some personal stuff that I kind of have to keep everything kind of on hold. I mean, I had scheduled to maybe go to the Tom Ferry event this past week. Didn't get there. I'm looking at the Inman San Diego because it's close and I love San Diego. I'm not sure I'm going to make it there or not. So I would say at this point, no airfares booked, no hotels booked yet. So other than EXPCon, and I'm not excited about Salt Lake City. I've been there before. It is cold in October. I live in
Yeah,
California. Why are we going to October? In Salt Lake City, I don't know, but it's a good event, so I'll go there for that.
keep crushing it, brother.
Thank you, man. Thanks so much.
Talk soon.
Okay. Bye.